Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Center Freaks. We are at episode number 4. If you don't know who I am JD. I'm also not Sam Clements.
And I am, yes, I am Sam Clements. That's right, because you're the one that's not, so that means that I'm the one that is, right?
That's right. That's exactly how this worked.
As the sticker says.
Yes. Well, if you guys were not at WLPC, first of all, we're really sorry that you weren't able to make it. But we had some great stickers that Sam was handing out to people and marking up that whether they were or were not Sam Clements. I've got one on my laptop. I'll post a picture up so you guys can see that in the video. But you definitely missed out. We might have some more of those in the future. I think it's worth having. I've had some people really truly trying to understand why I had a sticker on my laptop that says "Hello, I am not Sam Clements," and that's been a lot of fun the past couple of weeks since I've gotten back from WLPC.
Well, imagine how it looks that I've got stickers on my laptop that says I am Sam Clements. How narcissistic can you be?
Yeah, well, but at least it makes sense, right? It does make sense. Yeah. So, all right. Well, Sam, how's your week been? How I really haven't seen you since WLPC. It's good to see your face. How are you doing?
Likewise. Good. Working. Obviously got a lot of stuff going on at work and being gone at WLPC and. It's things pile up a little bit, so you got to spend some time and some care getting back above water, as they say.
Yeah. It's funny how it never takes you. You would think, okay, I've been gone a week. I work really hard and I can get caught up in a week, and it's always quite a bit longer than that, isn't it?
That it is.
Yeah, but you have had a busy week, I believe. Something might have came out, had your name in it?
Yeah, so it's funny that that book, so you're referring to the CCIE Wireless version 3 study guide. It's actually been out for a couple of months now. I didn't actually get my copy until just today, or until yesterday, I guess was. So the CCIE Wireless Study Guide, weighing in at 523 pages, was finally published and authored by Carlos and Nicholas and Jerome and Gilles and Fede over at Cisco, and I was the technical editor for the book, and so I have a technical editor credit in the table of contents, and I'm really rather proud of that.
I'm sure I would be too. That's pretty neat thing to be involved with, and I'm hearing really good things about the book too. Yeah. It's definitely on my list of books to pick up. So even though I have no interest in going after the CCIE Wireless certification, the information that's presented on that track is all very valuable. So I pick up a lot of the CCIE level press level books just for the information.
Yeah, it really is a really, really great reference guide. When I was working through the guide, it sort of dawned on me that this wasn't meant to be a book to sort of address the CCIE blueprint and here, go read this and you'll be able to pass the test. It was really meant to be, an understanding about the information that's on the test. It's meant to help you understand why the protocols work the way they are, why Cisco controllers work the way they do, why the infrastructure works the way it does, and how those things relate to CCIE topics. So it's interesting that it's called a study guide, and the reality is that you can use it for any number of things. The QoS chapter in particular stands out as one of the best chapters I've read in a technical book in a really, really long time. So it's one of those things. If you just want to know about why the way something works, it's just a fantastic reference.
Well, that's good to know. It's only available digitally. There will be no hard copies, I understand. So it's a great thing and that's really, especially for technical books like this, it's great because it's so easy to search when they're digital. Mm-hmm. Really find the topics you're looking for, or sometimes you'll maybe remember a particular statement that was made, and you're like, I know it's somewhere. What book did I read that in, right? Yeah. And being able to search multiple books at the same time is really pretty fantastic.
Yeah, no doubt.
So. All right. Well, going back to WLPC, besides the stickers, what takeaways did you get?
Oh my gosh, there was a tremendous amount of content at WLPC. I think obviously thank Keith Parsons for his role in putting that together, which is obviously most everything as far as the organizer is concerned. And I guess, it just stands out in my mind that was just so many good 10 talks, all the way on up through the longer sessions, by Chuck and, team. It's hard to pick one. There was a really great one on antenna systems where they go to die that I just thought was fantastically well done. I
heard that guy talked way too fast, didn't cover but half the content. He had no pictures.
Right,
I mean, there was so many problems with that.
Oh, that's funny. I really did like Chuck's talk on 6 gigahertz and what that could look like. It's interesting because it's reminiscent of the talks. If you rewind back, let's say 5 years, and we were talking about 5 or to 7 years, we were talking about WiMAX and additional channels in 5 gigahertz, and obviously we were being very, very speculative at that point, and a lot of that stuff didn't come to fruition. And so, I have to take some of those things with a grain of salt in that, we've sort of been there, done that. And, how do you get a good read on the future? But the reality is that if 6 gigahertz does come available, there's some really, really good justification behind it other than just, oh, look, it's more spectrum.
Right.
And I thought Chuck did a really, really good job of painting that story. And then, of course, honestly, I think second, probably runner-up was probably Eddie Ferrero's talk on packet captures, largely in part because he got to one point in his presentation and described what, basically annotated what the four-way handshake, or what an association and four-way handshake looks like from a security perspective. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody describe it just quite like he did. It was really, really rather well done.
Yeah. Well, those videos are up online now, I believe. So I finally remembered to send my presentation slides over to Matthew. Matthew's another one. If you don't know who Matthew Castile is, he is heavily involved in all the behind the scenes and helps Keith get that, make everything happen. But I know they've been working hard to get all the videos up. I believe they're all up. They may not all be up, but they will soon be available to watch. And so those are definitely two that stick out for me as well. Eddie's went a little a little bit over. Oh, only by about 50%, right?
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right.
But it was one of those that everyone was engaged enough that Keith made the call to just let him keep right on rolling, and so roll on he did. That's definitely one I've got on my list to go back and look at. You mentioned Chuck's, and of course I talked about Chuck's in our WLPC, I guess, preview show a couple of weeks ago. That it was great to see it. Parts of that I had seen before, as I'd mentioned. That the 6 gigahertz talk, I saw some of that at Wi-Fi Trek, but he's expounded on some information in that. I think one of the things, and I'm not certain, some of it I believe was just simply hearing it a second time, right? Mm-hmm. But some of the information, like for example, in California, the number of channels in 6 gigahertz that will be available in some of those spaces, it's actually not as, it's not a ton, right? Because there's going to have to be, a DFS avoidance type of solution. And it really, I think, makes for a strong case of why we need so much, right?
Yeah, for sure.
When we talk about going before the FCC. So there was some new information in it, I felt, but also kind of recapping and seeing it again was really useful to me. So, yeah, so a lot of great information. There was also another great talk. What was I believe, I want to say that the title of the talk was "It Depends." That was a
yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. That was also an excellent talk. It even had pictures.
Even had pictures, yes. A couple of pictures, as it turns out, yeah.
Yeah. But great talks there. Another thing that stuck out to me, and I've read a lot on OFDMA and what's coming with AX or Wi-Fi 7. I guess it'll be. Oh no, Wi-Fi 6.
No, Wi-Fi
sorry,
6.
Wi-Fi 6. Yes.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've missed with OFDMA, And this actually goes back to a conversation we had in episode 2 regarding, we were discussing spectrum analyzers, and we were discussing the channel, the subtone width or the sub-channel width, and how normal 20 megahertz channels is subdivided. And currently it's subdivided into 312.5 kilohertz subtones. Well, in OFDMA, that actually gets subdivided. Well, we subdivide into smaller subtones, and those are 78.125 kilohertz. So when we start thinking about, from a spectrum analysis perspective, that's kind of, in a lot of ways, that's what we speak at in Wi-Fi, right? We think of it in 20 megahertz, but really that 20 megahertz is just a bonded, it's a bonded, group of channels that are each 70 in Wi-Fi 6. In AX, it's 78.125, and in anything before it's 312.5. In the same way that an 80 megahertz channel is for 20 megahertz bonded channels, that are each 312.5. Right, so it's this bonding thing that we don't really think about it when we discuss Wi-Fi. We don't talk about it from a subtone level. We talk about that. We talk about the 20 megahertz channel, but it's really the exact same thing that's taking place there. And when we start looking at OFDMA and BSS coloring and resource units, right? Really, more importantly, the resource units.
Resource units, yeah.
Yeah, that's when those subtones start to really play in, and it starts to matter, because at least one of the slides David presented, he actually demonstrated that you'll be able to see the resource units, in a spectrum analyzer that's able to see that, that has that type of resolution. So that was some interesting information. We had conversations with both Ekahau and MetaGeek after that, and kind of talked about that, and both of them have talked about they'd like to come on and talk with us. So be looking forward near future. We'll have conversations with Ekahau and with MetaGeek. We'll be talking, of course, with MetaGeek about the Wi-Fi Air. And you know what? It's entirely possible that I'm wrong. I'm going to put that out there. It's entirely possible that it does not matter that we don't need to see to that resolution. And so I'm kind of curious to hear from the experts. Am I right there, or is it am I just am I thinking too far into it?
No, I personally, I think you're right, but that's what can I say? Yeah.
Right.
I think more information is better always from my perspective.
Right. Absolutely. So that's that was a takeaway from WLPC. I'll toot my own horn. One other takeaway: I did take the CWSP boot camp. Right. Took that with Tom Carpenter, and the really interesting thing, we started looking online and found that like a mile and a half from the conference center, there was a small college there, and they had a testing center. So there were quite a few of us, in fact, from my class, and I'm sure probably others, but definitely from my class, who went over either Monday or Tuesday and took our exams. I made a few mistakes. After I went back through the exam, I actually made some changes that I really shouldn't have, but still managed to pass it, at least with a score high enough to teach. And that's kind of been my goal. Even I know this one's changing. I know I'll never teach it, but that's kind of been my goal, is score high enough to be able to teach it. So
congratulations!
So,
you're now a certified wireless networking professional.
I am. Yes, I'm an MP. I'm a security professional, which is funny because of the 3 exams. That's probably the one I, going into, felt like I understood the least. So it's kind of good. Yeah, and it's interesting to have that one behind me. So AP's next. That'll be that's a fun one. I think I mentioned previously I've taken Peter's AP class. I've used it a lot since then. I just never went and took the exam. So now it's time to brush up on the specifics and go take that exam.
Well, and I think Peter teaches boot camps all the time, and I think the other thing that I saw was that he has a class teed up at the Titan Ranch there, doesn't he?
Yeah, you're exactly
And
right. Yeah, I wish I had that schedule in front of me. We talked a little bit about this, I believe, in episode 1, maybe.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that there was a Ekahau kind of train the trainer event that you guys had out at Titan Ranch, and that has now kind of scaled up. And there's some AP classes, some ECSE classes, quite a few classes that are taking place over the next few months, right?
Yeah, I believe so. If you have a chance to do that, or if you're looking to do the AP or see Peter or whatever, go dig that up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put a link in the show notes out to the Titan Ranch website. I definitely think those are worth checking out. And as I've said in the past, Peter's a great person to take AP from. I was talking with people there, in fact, who was taking his class and were really impressed with it, and coming out learning things. So that's also an excellent class. So any other takeaways for you?
Other than it seems to continue to reinforce to me every time that I go that WLPC is sort of the premier Wi-Fi conference, of the industry. And it's interesting that it's really Keith keeps it very, very simple. Ask the people what they want to hear, and then volunteer for people to give them what they want to hear. Ask for people to come and give that. And lo and behold, you have a successful conference. It's one of those, keep it simple and it works out type of things. And I'm looking forward to what it's 2020s. That's it. Next year's. Yeah. Years. They're hard to deal with.
Yeah. I am too. Definitely. There's no question right now that is the top conference on my list of places I want to go each year. And for those who haven't been able to go, whether it was you missed out on registration or maybe have a hard time getting to Phoenix, one of the things that Keith is considering is actually moving the conference next year, because we've absolutely maxed out the conference center this year. The seats were going all the way back to the almost to the back wall.
Room,
I mean, it was pretty tight. A lot of people were there. It was especially felt around Mills because we had some rough weather for Phoenix, and so everyone was kind of crammed inside, and they certainly didn't have the space inside for everyone. In prior years we've been able to have lunch, for example, outside, and it's been beautiful and it's been nice, and nice break from being
nice Arizona weather.
Yeah, exactly right. We most definitely didn't have that this year. So definitely be on the lookout for that. We'll likely be changing venues, and I know they're looking for suggestions, but also just simply trying to find the best solution for how they grow the conference in a manageable way, and make it so that we can get more wireless professionals there. Open those conversations up further, which is really going to be key. So
yeah, for sure.
That's it is always a great conference. So, well, while we're on the conference talk real fast, the next one I'm aware of is Atmosphere. Are you going to it?
It's Atmosphere. Yes, I will be at Atmosphere. Absolutely. I'm going to go wearing my corporate hat, as they say. So if you see me at Atmosphere, you won't see me actually wearing a hat, but stop by and say hi anyway. I'll be wearing the work shirt, as they say. But yeah, definitely going to be there. Definitely looking forward to it. Atmosphere is always interesting to see sort of a vendor's take on what the world is going to bring over the next year or so. And so I think HPE Enterprise does a fantastic job of sort of painting a very pie in the sky picture of what innovation is going to look like for them for the foreseeable future. So that's always intriguing to me, sort of hearing what they are focused on internally, and then in turn, what their customers hear, what their partners hear, and then sort of translating that into practical, real world use is always obviously an intriguing exercise. So I think that'll be a good one as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I'm actually attending this year as an Aruba Insider for the second time in a row.
Fantastic.
Last year was an interesting experience for me. One, because it's my first time at Aruba Atmosphere, but also really it was maybe a little bit of trial by baptism into the Aruba experience because due to the roles I've had, I've always been in a Cisco shop, and so I know the way Cisco does certain things. I know the way, and you develop, you learn how to read through Cisco marketing and Cisco technical documentation and all of those things, right? And then you go into Aruba, and it's not just commands are different, and it's not just the model numbers are different, right? Yeah, the philosophy is different, and it was a great experience for me because of that. It really did kind of open a lot of it made me start asking a lot of questions I don't think I would have otherwise, and it was really a great experience. So I'm excited to go back, excited to experience it again, and this time be a little less maybe wet behind the ears, a little bit more about a little more into it. So yeah, that should be great. Well, while we're talking about vendors, there was a small announcement in the past week.
That's right. That was our good buddies over at would you say our good buddies over at Mist or our good buddies over at Juniper? Guess it depends on the perspective, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So Juniper Networks acquired Mist, or excuse me, announced intention to acquire Mist Systems. Yeah, which is an interesting take. I think most people following Mist sort of knew that they were ripe for acquisition of some shape or form, and I don't know that anybody sort of saw it was Juniper that was going to do it, but I don't know that it was a huge surprise that they got acquired. I think it was probably a big surprise, at least in my book, that it was by Juniper.
I would agree with that. That was the part that shocked me. There was no question in my mind they were going to be snapped up, and I'm kind of surprised it took them as long as it did to be acquired. But Juniper was definitely when I heard that, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. So Juniper obviously has a Wi-Fi portfolio today, or prior to the acquisition, in the legacy Trapeze products, right? So if you've been in the industry for more than more than a while, you've heard of Trapeze, and Juniper snapped them up some time ago, and so I think everybody's interested to see what the Juniper story is to be painted around the Mist acquisition, especially because of the Trapeze history. I think the message you're probably going to hear is much like Cisco acquiring Meraki or HP acquiring Aruba.
Mm-hmm.
I think basically the only safe story they can tell is, Juniper's acquiring us, and then they're going to leave us alone, and then we're going to slowly take over X, Y, and Z bit in the portfolio, or we're going to slowly expand into cloud manageability or whatever. I think it'll be interesting to see what their messaging is if it's not that. I've said for a long time, Mist is going to have a hard time competing unless they have a full stack offering.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this goes a long way to helping them. I don't know that I really look at Juniper as being a routing or security, appliance sort of organization, but I think it goes a long way to helping. Oh, do you? Oh, well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I agree that from the perception for Juniper, that was definitely the weakest area as far as full stack is concerned, right? Yeah. And I feel like, and I absolutely agree that Mist needed a solution to be able to go in and offer that full solution, right? This does allow them to do it. I think this was an excellent acquisition on the part of Juniper. I'm one of those that you're talking about that's, it's got a few concerns to kind of see what happens and how it goes. And if if they do play kind of the HPE Aruba model with it and allow Mist to continue to grow the product and do what they need to do without handcuffing them, right? That's kind of the concern. I think that really that could be an interesting development in the market. It's definitely it bears watching. I don't know that I would want to buy a lot of Mist this second. But I will say, and I've said this from the beginning, the Mist product, intrigues me, and I've been impressed with the Mist product and what they're doing with it. So I think there's a lot of value there. And in the class I was actually in, there was a very large company. I'm not gonna drop names. I'll let Mist do that. But it was a very large company that just recently started using Mist in replacement. They're I don't know, probably Fortune 5 company that is probably 100,000 access points in their entire organization, and they're using Mist now as a chunk of that, right? And they work kind of across all vendors, and they were talking through their experiences, and it was a lot of positive discussion. And I feel like when you can go into really large warehouses and really large office spaces like that, and have those discussions, or have the user, the customer, come out and have those discussions and be that positive about it, that says a lot. And so I feel like there's a lot of promise there. I hope that continues.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens to existing Mist opportunities. Mist is very well known for bandying about names of large organizations, and it'll be interesting to see what the Juniper acquisition does to that conversation, because sort of one thing to walk into an organization where you're frustrated with the Wi-Fi portfolio, and so you decide to transition to Mist, and then now suddenly it comes with this baggage, right in air quotes, of a large infrastructure manufacturer that you had zero intentions of bringing into your organization. And so there's always sort of the fallout of, oh, well, now that you're Juniper, I don't know that I want you in my infrastructure. But every acquisition comes with, as they say, the golden handcuffs. If you've never been through an acquisition before, leadership is always going to be incentivized to stay on for X number of years. It's very, very common to see things like stay bonuses, financial compensation if you can keep, X percent of your employees on staff. And, there's always this sort of a process that you go through in order to retain, the good individuals in your organization. And so I think what's going to happen is this is probably going to be a stay the course acquisition for 2 to 3 years or so, because that's typically how they're structured. And it'll be interesting really to see what happens after 3 years. I think when I look back at the Meraki acquisition by Cisco, it was a 3-year mark that we started to see people that were, long-term Meraki people leave the organization, and then, sort of Meraki come into its own. And I think that we're seeing something similar with Aruba and HPE, where there's sort of this clock that everybody's watching, and okay, what's going to happen, and who's going to pull the ripcord at what point in that mark. We know that Mist founders came from Cisco. Suja Haley and Bob Friday, were longtime Cisco employees, and so there's obviously the Cisco dynamic there as far as their heritage and their history and what that product looks like. And it's an interesting sort of cross pollination, bringing Juniper into the market. And I guess what's interesting in my book is not what's being said, but what's not being said, which is there's really only one left that has yet to be acquired. And it sort of makes you wonder why and when and who is going to scoop up Arrowhive.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've been keeping an eye on their stock. It's one of those fun things. I've got a small amount of money that I like to play in stock markets, and that's one I've been keeping an eye on. And it was funny because the day that announcement was made, their stock took a pretty big hit, and I think a lot of people are asking that question: is why not, right? Why not AeroHive? And and I don't know, there's some securities thing in there. I don't own AeroHive currently.
No, nor do I, by the way. Nor do I.
Yeah, we're certainly not. We're not talking stocks here, but just simply the news about the stock.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took a hit because I think a lot of people are asking that question of, what's happening there and why haven't they been acquired? Why? So that'll be an interesting one to watch.
And, it's interesting sort of as I think through that, the last big thing that I heard from AeroHive in the news was first to market for shipping 807AX products. Mm-hmm. I look at that and it makes me wonder, as an industry technologist, is that really important anymore? Okay, so great. So you were first to market, first to shipping some stuff out the door, and that's cool and all. It's neat to be first in line, but what is that really ultimately what's healthy for your company?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And I question how many people were making purchases based on that, right?
Yeah.
How many AX access points did they sell because they were first to market and because no one else was selling AX, versus were people simply buying their AX product because they were already had a relationship with them, and that was the latest and greatest, right? That was
Sure.
Kind of future proofing and that type of thing. So I asked some of the same questions. I'm curious to see what else, especially as we go into this year and as we expect to start seeing a lot of AX, enterprise products, shipping, right? As that happens, any benefit from that lead kind of goes away. I feel like, right. So I feel like if they haven't already delivered, or if they haven't already gotten a return on investment of that being first to market,
are they ever going to? Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I had some interesting conversations with David Coleman, who works over there. Obviously, there's a lot he can't say, but I will say he seems to be excited about where they're at. And where they're headed. So hopefully, and I have a ton of respect for David. So I hope he's right, and I would love to see some movement there.
Yep, as would I.
All right. Well, one thing that we were talking about we've talked about a couple of times is the Samsung S10.
Now shipping. Yeah. They're arriving in the wild.
So we actually have real Wi-Fi 6.
It's Wi-Fi 6. Yeah.
And really, I guess it's Wi-Fi 6 spec, right? Because you can't really approve Wi-Fi 6 until there's a standard to approve it against, and the standard's not a standard until it's right. So it's
But there's a little 6 on the icon. I think so. It's I think it's a bit of a chicken and egg problem. I think right now, which is
absolutely.
Wi-Fi Alliance hasn't quite ponied up to say these are all the things that are going to be in it, but Samsung's definitely going to do it.
Yeah, right. Well, and it's funny because that so closely relates to what we were just talking about with AeroHive, right?
Yeah.
What we're really saying is well, now there's actually a client that can test the AeroHive,
right? Yeah.
AX, access point. So yeah, I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see what people start to say as their clients, as they get the S10s in their hands. I'm curious to see if it says Wi-Fi 5 while it's connected to an AC network.
Oh, that's an interesting question. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if they see Wi-Fi 6, they see it's capable of Wi-Fi 6, but they always see Wi-Fi 5. Are they going to start to ask the question of why? right? So there's some interesting, from a customer perspective, there's some interesting questions there.
Well, and if they do see Wi-Fi 5 and it's right next to the 4G icon, they're going to be hoping, they're going to be watching for the 4G icon to change to 5G, and they're going to be waiting for the Wi-Fi 5 icon to change to 6.
It's going to be interesting for sure, especially for those. Was it? I don't want to say it wrong, but I believe it was AT&T, right? That was actually putting 6 out on the
5. They were
putting LTE 5.
5G or
yes,
whatever.
5G. Right, exactly. Yeah. And got called out on that. I guess they still are, but there's actually been a couple of lawsuits. Sprint filed a lawsuit against them, and there's some investigations. I want to say the FTC might have even started asking some questions around it. So, you kind of have to be careful about that.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think I also was talking about at WLPC, at least I had some private sidebar conversations with at least one person in particular, Glenn Kate. If you're watching, this is you. Don't forget that we are soliciting Wi-Fi designs to review on the show. If you would like us to take a look at those, send us over your designs, and JD and I are obviously looking to provide some commentary feedback from what our take is on your design. So if you're wanting to get some assessment of what it is that we think people should be doing or shouldn't be doing, we would love to have some designs to dig into and talk about. We promise no bad words. We just want to provide some color and context, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We're not looking for people to beat up on. No. We're looking to continue to have a conversation around it, right? And learn from each other. I don't think either Sam or I think that we know it all. So in some situations, maybe you're sending us something and we learn something in the process and get to share that with everyone else. And sometimes maybe you learn something, but viewers will learn things. I think it'll be a great experience. And like I said, we've got no intention whatsoever of beating up the submissions and airing your dirty laundry. That's not what this is about at all.
Absolutely.
Well, also, one last thing, I guess, is we kind of need to announce a giveaway, don't we?
We do. We have some Linksprinters and an air check, courtesy of NETSCOUT. Yeah, NETSCOUT handheld networking tool is what just NETSCOUT for now, still, right?
Yes, for at least a few more months.
Still just NETSCOUT, yeah. So we gave away the first Linksprinter last time. That was to Aaron Lamy, I believe. Yep. And I think we have a name drawn for number 2, right?
Yep, we sure do. Yeah, and Aaron got that. I finally, it took me a couple of days to ship it to him, but he got that and was already posting on Twitter. I think the very first day he was able to use it to help troubleshoot some problems. So that's always great to see. Okay, all the way back in episode number 2, we asked you guys to submit comments and tell us your favorite troubleshooting tip. We got a lot of comments in the same. There was definitely kind of a theme to it, and it was interesting to me when I began picking that out. And in general, the themes were that that you have to be methodical in your troubleshooting and how you go about it and how you test with, whether it's testing with multiple clients to find the problem or things along those lines. But one comment that really stuck out and ended up winning due to our completely random choosing was a comment that the crux of the comment was get the requirements from the customer first. And the winner of the second Linksprinter is Mr. Josh Bugby. And yeah. And Sam, you actually, and this was completely random, but you actually mentioned that I believe Josh works with you.
Yeah, he does. So work hat on. Josh and I, in full disclosure, work for the same organization now. We are out of notably different offices, notably different areas. He actually came from a different acquisition than I did. But when you're at at a company of 1,600 employees, and a large percentage of those are engineers, and roughly 150 of them are mobility engineers. You sort of bump into some people in the industry that you happen to work with, but yeah.
Yeah, the key takeaway here is Sam knows everybody. So, so Josh, I'm going to send this to Sam, and if you don't see it,
I'll inter-office it to you. No,
no, we'll get that right out, Josh. Congratulations. But definitely, he brings up a really valid point here that we always have to look to the customer, set the requirements, and if we can say to them it works, but if we're not troubleshooting from their perspective and we're not trying to understand the issues that they're seeing and what success looks like for them, right? Then we're coming up short. And I think that's really in any field like this that's really kind of services driven. That's real key.
No doubt about it.
All right. So I know you're all asking what can you do to win Linksprinter number 3? Well, you're going to have to keep watching Twitter. We're on Twitter at CenterFreaks. We will be posting that very shortly, and we'll see what kind of crazy hoops we can come up with that you might have to jump through.
I was going to say what kind of nefarious things you would have to do, but I guess that's not right either, is it?
Well, it might be. Well, we'll see. But yeah, we still have that Linksprinter number 3 to give away, and then also, of course, have that AirCheck G2. And I know everyone's excited about that. What's interesting, I had a couple of conversations with people at WLPC, and everyone was like, I'm not entering right now because I want to enter. I don't want to win now because I might, because that would keep me from being able to win for the AirCheck G2. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that I kind of see that, but you're not guaranteed to win that. Yeah. You're not guaranteed to win that AirCheck by any means. There's only going to be one of those winners. So, but yeah, so stay tuned on Twitter. We will post, and we will give you plenty of time to enter. It's not going to be any type of flash giveaway or anything along those lines. There will be plenty of time to enter. So that will be AirCheck giveaway number 3.
No, Linksprinter giveaway number 3, not AirCheck giveaway.
I appreciate that clarification. That will be Linksprinter number 3. Yes, we won't be giving away 3 AirChecks.
No.
I'm partial to mine. Sam's partial to his. You can't have them. There's just the one. Okay. All right. Well, with that, is there anything else that we have not covered, Sam?
I think that's good. We got a lot coming up. We're expecting to hear. I think you said earlier we're expecting to talk to Ekahau and MetaGeek on some of their stuff, and I think we got a lot of stuff lined up for the next upcoming episode. So.
Yeah, we absolutely do. So definitely make certain you're subscribed. You might even want to hit the little bell so you get alerted when new shows pop up.
And send us your designs.
Yeah, send us your designs. Let us know on Twitter. Be certain to let us know what you think, and either on Twitter or in the comments. We'll take it either way. And we're always looking to improve the show. We've been working through some technical difficulties. Hopefully it hasn't been too distracting. But we will continue to make improvements as we go. Well, with that, I'm going to send you guys off. Hope you're having a great week and getting excited about what you do every day. So, with that, we'll close out episode number 4 of Center Freaks. Have a great day.
Bye.